Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each one of you present out here. I am Gaurang Kalyankar, your host for today's event, IRIS, organized by IEEE-VIT. IEEE is the world's largest technical organization dedicated in advancing technology for the benefit of humanity with over 4 million members. IEEE creates an environment where members collaborate on world-changing technologies from computing and sustainable energy systems to aerospace, communications, robotics, healthcare, and many more. IEEE also includes a global network of IEEE members and volunteers dedicated to promoting women engineers and scientists and inspiring girls from around the world to follow their academic interest in a career in engineering and science. IEEE was rated America's best mid-sized employers in Forbes in 2018. IEEE has been certified as a great place to work. IEEE received the When Work Works Award in 2016. IEEE is a trusted voice for engineering, computing, and technology information around the globe. IEEE VIT comes under the Bombay section. We are dedicated in conducting workshops and seminars on various domains. Adding to accomplishment, IEEE VIT has captured the IEEE Regional Exemplary Student Branch Award in the year 2020. We have our main flagship events, Iris and Voyager. Voyager is coming up in March. We also conduct many such great events which include competitions, seminars, IEEE. All of these are celebrated with great enthusiasm at IEEE VIT. Now, I would like to tell you about IRIS. IRIS stands for Inspire, Resonate, Integrate, Succeed, which means to get inspired by the speakers, resonate with their thoughts, integrate them in our souls, and succeed in our lives. A series of inspirational talk, resonating powerfully within the audience, integrating their advices and thoughts to walk towards success is here. IRIS 2021 was a huge success, where our speakers stimulated our minds with their inspirational talks. Our speakers for IRIS 2021 included Mr. Alcatraz Day, author, biker, and life coach, author of 3 Amazon chartbusters, rode mountain bike from Kanyakumari to Kashmir in under 120 hours. Second was Dr. Raja Gopala Chidambaram, Indian physicist awarded the prestigious Padma Shri and Padma Vibhushan, coordinated the test preparation for Pokhran 1 and Pokhran 2, known for India's nuclear weapon programs. Third was Mr. Shronit Ladhani, entrepreneur and angel investor, president and CEO at AIESEC, Mumbai, featured in Brainfeed's 30 Under 30 Entrepreneurs of India. Fourth was Mr. Yuvraj Valmiki, Indian field hockey player, the only Indian hockey player to play German Hockey League for 8 years consecutively, played 2014 Hockey World Cup for India. They made us believe that in order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. So now it's 2022 and we are here with yet another series of resonating inspirational talks. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are honored to welcome one of the brightest minds of India. He is here to enlighten us with his experience and knowledge so that we get inspired and be successful in our lives. Our speaker for today is an entrepreneur who has created an online platform called Pencil, which provides all necessary digital tools, suits to independent educators. And he is also known as a significant UPSC mentor on YouTube with 90K plus subscribers, where he is helping other aspirants for their CSE preparations. Our speaker for today is Mr. Abhijeet Yadav. Abhijeet sir has completed his BTech in Civil Engineering from IIT Delhi and has cleared UPSC Civil Services examination 2 times with All India ranking of 653 in 2017. He is a good orator along with skilled in ops planning, strategy and process implementation. So without any further delay, we would love to hear from you, Abhijeet sir. Over to you, sir.
So thank you for that magnificent introduction, Gaurang. I don't know if I'd agree with you on the assessment of one of the brightest minds of the country, because in a country of 1.3 billion people, there is a lot of talent. And I think that is sort of the message that I had thought about giving in this conversation that we have at IRIS, organized by IEEE. And thank you for the detailed introduction for IEEE as well, because obviously, as the organizer of the event, they need to be given center stage, right? So I'd like to structure this session in a very simple manner. I'll be sharing some ideas, I'll be sharing some thoughts, and I won't take too much of your time. And at the end of that session, I'd love if all of you could type in your messages, or if Gaurang could coordinate and some of you could come live and ask some questions, because if it's an interactive session, I feel people gain a lot more value out of it than if it is just me talking to the screen for an hour or so, right? So Gaurang, would that be okay?
Yes, sir. Like it is okay.
Sure. So, great. And thank you all for having me here, first and foremost, because it's always a pleasure talking to people who are in college, who are, going through this very, very, I would say, mind expanding journey. Kyunki before, and another thing, are most people here comfortable with Hindi, or should I be speaking in like English primarily?
So both are okay. Like you can go with anything.
Sure. So, but like, I just want to be able to, cater to all the people. I don't want people to feel left out, and for that reason, I'll mostly be speaking in English. There might be some, phrasings that crop up beach mein, so that will happen, right?
Okay, sir.
So, first and foremost, when you came to college, for a lot of you, what happened for the first time was that you had very limited experience in the sense कि आप अपने स्कूल, अपनी कॉलोनी, अपने आसपास के लोगों को जानते थे. एंड ऑब्वियसली बिफोर फेसबुक आ गया था तो थोड़ा थोड़ा चीजें फैल रही थी. बट वंस यू गेट टू कॉलेज, द माइंड expands a lot. It just has so many new avenues, so many new areas to explore. IEEE be doing a great job for organizing all of these kinds of events so that you can get even more exposure, even more different viewpoints and experiences. The core idea being कि जब वो माइंड एक्सपैंड हो रहा होता है हमारे पास, जब हम कॉलेज में होते हैं, जब हमारे पास इतने सारे ऑप्शंस दिख रहे होते हैं हर चीज के, do you want to go into coding, do you want to be a computer science engineer, or do you want to be a civil engineer, do you want to go into electrical, do you want to maybe do something on social media, do you want to go into marketing, what do you want to do? Because while you were in 11th and 12th, एक बहुत ही रिलैक्स्ड एंड इजी चॉइस थी आपके पास. आप साइंस ले सकते हो, आप मेडिकल ले सकते हो, आप कॉमर्स ले सकते हो, आप ह्यूमैनिटीज ले सकते हो, राइट? ऑफ दीज फोर ऑप्शंस, suddenly when you come to college, everything expands into 40 different options, right? If you go into humanities, which humanities do you want to go towards? मतलब आप किस तरफ जाना चाहेंगे? If you're going into arts, which kind of art would you want to go into? Similarly, if you're going into medical, so medical is obviously a very very arduous journey in and of itself, because I know so many doctors who have been studying for 10 years and are still planning to study more. So that is a career path in itself. And engineering में अब आते हो आप तो, like, because obviously VIT is one of the very good top colleges of India for engineering. So when you come to engineering, your options drastically expand. And when your options drastically expand like that, one of the first things that happens is confusion. And I'm sure, please do tell me in the chat about this, whether a lot of you have been confused about what career to choose. How do you go about selecting, which area do you want to specialize in? Do you want to go towards marketing, social media? Do you want to go towards, core engineering, which is not a choice that I see a lot of people making these days? So please, if possible, in the meeting chat, could you, the listeners, could you type in, are you ever, or did you ever feel confused by the fact that suddenly once you got into college there are so many options about what you need to do, and that's slightly confusing? How do you choose? How do you go about making that career decision? Right, so I think okay, I'm not sure how the chat is working. Gaurang, are you getting some messages on this, or I'm slightly okay? So Shefali has come in with one of the first replies. So again, others are chipping in with this as well, right? So let's have this sort of an interactive session, because otherwise, me talking to a screen for however long is not a very fun and fruitful way to go about these things, right? So a lot of people are chipping in now and they're saying it's overwhelming, it gets confusing. Yes, people feel too many career options and opportunities. So On this, I'd like to say a very simple thing, right? And it's not like I've not been confused. I have tried a ton of things. For instance, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I graduated from IIT Delhi in 2014 as a civil engineer. Yeah, at least I was very clear about that I'm not going to civil engineering. So matlab, that is one wasted seat for, in IIT, which if somebody had gone into civil engineering would have been a great asset to the country. But then again, obviously, how do I make use of it? So I tried a couple of jobs. I worked with sales, I worked with marketing, I worked in operations. All of those jobs I tried. Why? Because I was not really clear about what I want. And one of the things that you need to understand while in college is कि क्योंकि आपको एकदम से इतनी सारी चीजें दिख गई हैं, इतना ऑप्शंस आपके बढ़ गए हैं, it is okay to be confused. It's completely fine. There will be very few people. I'm sure in college you have these kinds of people who are very clear about what they want to do, right? उनको होगा कि हाँ डे वन पे डे वन पे नौकरी लेनी है, ये वाली कंपनी में नौकरी लेनी है. It could be a banking job, it could be a tech company job. So every college has those kinds of people. I'm sure VIT has those kinds of people too. But you need to realize that it's a very very rare few people who have that amount of clarity about कि मुझे क्या करना है from day one in college, right? So what do you do? What do the rest of us who are, not those people looking for those day one jobs? Because I was not that guy. I was a five pointer, right? Five pointer IIT में होता है कि भाई like I am just above the passing grade, and that simply means कि I was having a lot more fun than I was studying in college, which might be the case because obviously once you feel कि इतनी सारी opportunities are, why not explore all of these opportunities? Because I'm not going to get a chance like this ever again, and which is something that I would say to you as well. Ki while you're in college, this is a great window of opportunity for you to explore as many things as you can. Now, coming to the point of how do you go about, resolving this issue? Ki there is a plethora of options that you have, but which ones do you choose? How do you go about, making an informed decision? So for that, there's a very, very simple thing that I'd like to share. I think, yeah. So this is called the golden circle, and this is not my original idea. If any of you want to read more about the golden circle, you can refer to this book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And he's a great writer, he's a great orator, and I'm sure if you go into what he's talking about, you will learn a lot more. So whenever we start thinking about career choices, our general tendency is to start from here with what? On the outside. Our general tendency is to start on the outside. Why? Because that's the easiest thing to do. आपको क्या करना है? Because that's the first question that people ask you. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a tech guy? Do you want to be a marketer? Do you want to be an IAS? What do you want to be? Nobody asks you why. And for that reason, one of the easiest ways to get confused is when you start with what, कि मुझे क्या बनना है. हम अपने आप से ये सवाल नहीं पूछते कि हमें क्यों कुछ चीज करनी है, हमें कहाँ जाना है, क्यों जाना है, बट क्या करना है, ये सबको कुछ ना कुछ एक आइडिया होता है. This idea may not always be original to you. It may be somebody else has told you, this is something that you can do. Like for instance, I can give you 10 different ideas about what you can do. Your parents can give you a great number of ideas about what you can and what you should do, right? So can and should, वहां पे should का option भी आ जाता है कि आप you're a bright student, you should do this, you're मतलब खानदान का चिराग हो तुम, ये सब वो सब मतलब घर वाले करते हैं ये चीजें, where they give you a lot of particular options that they think would be good options for you, which may not always be the case, because consider the fact that your parents lived their lives in the 80s and the 90s, right? And the early 2000s. In decades may the world that we lived in is very different from the world that we live in right now, especially post COVID. So while I'm sure all of them have great intentions for you at their heart, they want what is best for you, and they are telling you what you can do out of their own personal experience. They don't want something bad for you. They want what is best for you. But what is best according to them might be limited by their own experience. Whereas you, on the other hand, because of this, plethora of options that you've seen right now, the expansion of the internet that you've seen right now, and being a part of all of this, cultural zeitgeist that we're living through, you know a lot more about how things happen nowadays than probably your parents do. There may be some parents who are, very, very tech savvy, who are very, very, technologically advanced, and maybe giving you great advice, but that's not always the case. That is a rarity. Most of the time you will have a much greater idea, obviously, if you are involved in these things too. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आप सारे दिन बैठ के पबजी खेलते रहो और फिर आपको अपने पेरेंट्स से ज्यादा आइडिया होगा. इन दैट केस इट मे बी द केस दैट दे नो अ लॉट मोर देन यू डू, क्योंकि पबजी खेल के सारा दिन कुछ नहीं होने वाला. यू नीड टू लर्न, राइट? एंड कॉलेज में यही चीज के बारे में हम बात कर रहे थे कि जब हम शुरू करते हैं इससे कि भाई व्हाट्सएप कि क्या करना है, so it gets a little confusing. So that's why instead of starting from the outside, we need to start from the inside. You need to start with why, right? So for a moment, I'll just end the screen. Right. So everybody's seen the circle, right? Visualize the circle for the rest of the conversation, because for some reason the screen was flicking at my end and it was irritating me. So coming back to the entire point, that when you start with what you want to do, which is not always something that you have decided for yourself. And let me just ask this question right at this moment from you, all the people who are watching this and listening to this. If you could tell me in the chat right now, how many of you have been told by your parents what you should do? You can answer in a simple yes or a no, and a very simple idea ki you've been told by your parents that you should do this. They've told you what you need to do. It could be as simply as UPSC की तैयारी कर लो. It could be just simply as कि ये इस कंपनी में नौकरी ले ले. It could just be as simply as कि इसके बाद मास्टर्स कर लो. So a couple of people raised their hands, and I would love it if people are sharing in the chat as well. Right. So this is a very, very common phenomenon. Now, what it also does is it adds to the confusion. Adds to the confusion कैसे कि पहले आप खुद ही confused हो कि भाई क्या करना है, क्यों? क्योंकि इतने सारे एकदम से आपको options मिल गए. Then on top of that, huge field of options, you have this external pressure on top of you as well, which is like नहीं वो सब तो ठीक है, but like वो करो, do that, that is best. We are telling you, we know, right? Because they are coming from a good place, that they want what is best for you, but they may be limited by their own experience. So in that case, it becomes very, very, very important that you start with an exploration of the self. कि आपको क्या चाहिए, आपको क्या चीजें पसंद है, what do you want out of life? See, and this is sometimes a difficult concept to understand and difficult concept to imbibe. Why? Because we don't know what we want. अगर पता होता तो जिंदगी बहुत आसान होती. Life would have been very easy. Why? I know what I want, I'm going after what I want, but what I want also keeps changing, because the why, the inside कि मतलब मुझे core अगर जब तक समझ नहीं आएगा तो what I want in the moment will keep changing. So that's why this is something that I would like all of you to take back from this conversation. Go back and think about this. Ki, what are the values that are driving you? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? And this is not an easy conversation to have with especially yourself. Why? Because it's very easy to deceive ourselves. I can tell myself that I'm like, let's say for instance, I prepared for civil services exam for an extended period of time. I spent 5 years of my life over there. I got some selections and sab cheez hui. But all throughout that journey, my answer for why am I doing this kept evolving and kept changing as I got to know more and more about myself, right? In the beginning, my answer used to be, why am I doing this? Because I like reading these subjects. Because all the subjects that you need to study for civil services exam, history, polity, economy, geography, these were things that I was reading on my own. राइट मतलब मुझे फन के लिए मैं किताबें पढ़ रहा होता था इन सब चीजों के लिए. आई फिगर्ड व्हाई नॉट गिव द एग्जाम इफ आई हैव ऑल दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन एज इट इज, एंड लाइक व्हाई नॉट पुट माय हॉबी टू some productive use. So that was one thing. But by the time I came around to my second attempt, I started thinking more about it, that matlab, that is not the core reason. Okay, I like doing these things as a hobby, but when I have to grill down, when I have to read that same book 5 times, then just reading it is not a convincing enough argument for me to push myself. Why? Because it's not fun reading that same book 5 times. So the second time around, the third time around, my reasons started evolving, they started changing. Why was I doing this now? It was a combination of yes, malab, I think this is a good career path, that there's a lot of diversity in these areas. As an IAS IPS officer, the amount of experience, the amount of exposure that you'll get doing a lot of different things in a lot of different geographies, and the breadth of exposure that anybody can get over there might not be possible in other areas, right? So by the fourth attempt, I had cleared civil services exam with a rank of 653. But once I cleared the civil services exam, I also saw a lot of my classmates. I had graduated in 2014 and this is 2017 when I cleared the exam. 3 years it took me. उसके बीच में मैं बीच में 6 महीना नौकरी भी करी है, जहाँ पे नौकरी करके भी I tried in figuring out what I want. Do I want to do sales? Because I'd always been told I'm a convincing speaker. I speak very very smoothly, and that's a great skill to have for sales. I did sales for 6 months. I realized I'm horrible at it. I may be a good speaker, but I'm not a great salesman. So there is a difference. मुझे नहीं पता था ये difference क्या होता है. And one of the things that a good salesperson needs is the ability to face failure. And right when I was doing that job, I did not have that. As a salesperson, you have to face rejection a lot. अगर आपकी वैल्यू में वो नहीं है कि मतलब you can go from 95 failures and keep looking for those last 5 wins. Those 5 wins may be the first thing that you get in the morning, or they may be the last thing that you get in the day. But just going out after those 100 calls every day, going out after those 100 meetings every day, irrespective of the outcome that you're getting, that is a hard thing to do. क्यों? क्योंकि आपको हर तरीके की गाली मिलेगी, आपको गेट से बाहर बंद कर दिया जाएगा, आपका फोन नहीं उठाया जाएगा, आपका फोन उठा के रख, but like all kinds of things you'll face. And if you don't have it in you to go through that, you will not be a great salesperson. But बाहर से अगर कोई देखता है तो I'm a convincing speaker, they'll say no, go to sales, you'll do great in sales. I tried sales, I suck at it. So this is the kind of thing that you need to understand about yourself, कि बाहर से कुछ जो कोई देख रहे हैं वो ठीक है, but आपको अंदर से क्या लग रहा है? What do you feel about yourself? Have you ever felt, and this is something that I would like all of you to tell me in the chat again, that there is a difference between how people see you and what you're feeling? These are two separate things. Has any one of you felt that कि जो लोग आप में देख रहे हैं और जो चीज आपको लग रही है अपने बारे में, for maybe the same quality, are very different things? Right, so that also happens. And again, why does that happen? Because nobody will have as much context about who you are than you. Not even your parents know everything that is going on in your head. They know a lot. For instance, if you have a long-term romantic partner, if you're married, if you have siblings, so all of these people will know a great deal about you, but they will not, and they will never probably know everything about you. Only you can know everything about you, and even that is a very difficult thing to do. So this is something that I would like you all to take back from this conversation, from this session that we had here today, that till the time you're not clear about अंदर से क्या आ रहा है, क्यों कर रहे हो जो चीज कर रहे हो, तब तक this confusion will last. तब तक this choice of careers, whether should I go in marketing, whether should I go for social media, whether should I go in copywriting, in core engineering, in coding, in these are obviously 5 things that I have on top of my head at the moment, but there are hundreds of different career paths out there, but you will be always confused. You will never be satisfied till you don't know why you're doing these things. So now let's come to the next part of our conversation, which is how do we go about understanding why are we doing these things? So we just had a small little test where we saw that there's a difference between what we are feeling and what somebody else is perceiving that we're feeling, right? Somebody else looking at us and telling us that we possess this particular quality, but we don't particularly feel that way, right? So now let's dive a little bit into that. Now, obviously, a lot of the time, there will be some qualities about you which you do not give a lot of importance to, but will be very, very visible to somebody from the outside. Sorry about that. So, if I talk about a personal experience, in college, I used to be very, very interested in psychological tests, the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is called the MBTI, and n number of different personality tests I used to be doing so that I could gain a better understanding of, what are things that are going on inside of me. And one of the things that one of those tests made me realize is that there were some values that I had. Like for instance, I have a very strong bias for action. Bias for action क्या होता है कि I think of something and then I start working on it almost without a break. कि मतलब सोचा कि हाँ ठीक है ये करते हैं and then I'll start. There's no gap, there is no break, and things will happen. But I did not consider it to be a very, very important part of my personality or a very, very important part of who I am. But from the outside, when people saw me, when people interacted with me, this they saw as one of the most important things about me. कि मतलब बोला और काम चालू, नहीं बोला तो नहीं होगा वो काम, but बोला तो काम चालू. And that quality I know now over time, because I did this test back in 2015. So it's been 7 years. And over those 7 years, I know that this quality has been one of the core qualities that I've had. कि मुझे कुछ करना है, मैंने सोचा, मैंने जाके कर लिया. A lot of the time, I will disregard this quality. क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे नहीं लगता ये important है. So you need to be also aware of not just the qualities that you hold dear, but are valued in society. Right. This brings us to the second concept that I'd like to talk about today. I'll just, sorry about that. Yeah. I'm sorry about this, but just getting something shared. Yeah. Ikigai. Right. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this concept in the recent past, and the screen thingy is doing its problem all over again. So when you have started with why, जब आपको ये पता चल गया है ना कि what you love and why do you love this, then that is the first step towards fulfillment. You will not find fulfillment simply by doing something that you love. You also need to get paid. Why? क्योंकि अगर आपको perpetually ये लगता रहेगा कि I'm doing what I love, but my classmate is earning 5x what I'm earning. So you could be one of the rare few people who are not affected by that, impacted by that, but a lot of people have this sense of comparison कि कुछ ना कहीं ये problem आती है. I'm not saying that this is a great thing for you to do. I'm just saying that this is something that you need to be aware of. So if you're doing a job where you're not being paid for, and you think that you're being undervalued, and you think that you're not getting compensated enough, you will not last long. You will again feel discontent. You will again feel that there are problems that need to be resolved. So that is not again long-term career satisfaction. Then again, one of the things that you need to realize is that you do have some skills, and if those skills are not used in your job, in your activities that you're doing, if in your hobbies that you're pursuing, if you're not using your skills, you will again feel, discontent. And the final part of the Ikigai four concentric circles is, what does the world need? Ki you can find something which you're good at, which you love doing, which you can get paid for. And if you can find something which the world also needs, then I'm sure a lot of you have seen enough, you know, videos on the internet where a lot of one of my favorite motivational speakers of all time has been Arnold Schwarzenegger, because that guy has had such a great journey. And one of the things that he always kept talking about in his later years after he stepped down from the position of the governorship of California was, you have to find a way to give back to society. अगर आप वापस नहीं दे रहे हो, अगर आप वो सारा इंफॉर्मेशन निचोड़ के अपने पास ही रख रहे हो, that's fine, but ठीक है, after a point it's just not fun. You just won't be able to progress all that much. Why? Because to make progress after a point, you need to be moving with others. So you have the why, and then you connect that why to the things that you love, the things that you get paid for, and the things that you're good at, and the things that the world need to find a career fit. Now, those are very, very broad concepts that I've talked about. Now, let's just try and connect those two concepts, that how do you go about finding your why? So finding your why, before we start off with how you can go about this, I'd like to know from, all of the people, we have almost 70, 75 people with us now. How many of you think that you're very clear about why you're doing something, or why, you know, you're following one particular career path, or why you're walking a particular, road? How many of you think you're very clear and you have a very good answer? I don't need the answer. I just want to know if you know the answer, that, why are you doing, let's say, the engineering degree that you're doing, right? I think that's a great example. So I'd like to all of you to answer this in the chat. Are you sure that you know why you're doing this engineering degree from VIT? Because I'll be honest, I did a 4-year degree from IIT. I was not clear why I was doing it. And right. So that's the idea. We're doing so many things. We're already in the middle of so many things where we have no clue why we're doing them. And we can keep doing this. We can do this our entire lives. People live through their lives not knowing why they're doing it. Autopilot पे चल जाती है जिंदगी, निकल जाती है, comfortable रहोगे, रोटी कपड़ा मकान की fight नहीं आएगी. But if you want to do something great, if you want to step out, if you want to, break the mold, if you want to leave the rat race, then you need to really think about why you're doing this. Then you really need to, apply and, use your time well. And doing that is difficult. Now let's talk about why it's difficult. सबसे पहली चीज, we talked about this a couple of minutes ago, which was कि it's very easy to fool ourselves. डिग्री करते हुए अभी आप लोगों ने सबने, a lot of you have said कि no, you don't know why you're doing the engineering degree. There will be some days where you will be very sure about, why I'm doing this engineering degree. No, I know. Well, I'm clear. आज maybe शायद because we had this whole meandering conversation about it, but there will be days where we'll convince ourselves that, I know why I'm doing this. May not be the right reason, but I know. Now, knowing why is difficult because we deceive ourselves. And second, it takes effort. It takes constant self-reflection. Of self-reflection, there are multiple ways to go about self-reflection, but one of the easiest ways that I've personally found is writing. In the morning, every day, just write whatever's coming in your head. It's a great exercise. It'll help you clarify a lot of things. What kind of writing am I talking about? This is not some sort of a diary entry. This is not some sort of a कि मतलब दिन में मुझे action plan क्या करना है. This is an unstructured space. Take one page and write down anything that comes in your head, and every morning you will suddenly be made aware of the thoughts that you weren't really aware of कि भाई इसके बारे में भी सोचा जा रहा था. But जब वो पेपर पे आएंगे, तो वो आपको थोड़ा ज्यादा समझ आएगा कि भाई क्यों था, क्या था, कैसे हो रहा है. Keep doing that. If nothing else, I would just ask all of you to try this out for 1 month. Every morning, wake up, write one page. It could be, with a pen and paper, it could be on your laptop, but don't stop before you've filled that page. एक page है बस. It won't take you more than 10 minutes. अगर लैपटॉप पे है तो थोड़ा साइज वाइज का देख लेना, बिकॉज ideally you should be writing about 300 to 400 words. So once you write those things, what will happen is you will start becoming aware of all of these things that we have talked about in a very, very scattered manner in this conversation. Ki number one, you'll start getting aware of how you're deceiving yourself. क्यों? क्योंकि जब आप लिखने लगोगे कोई चीज एकदम फील में आके, जोन में आके, तो कुछ लिख जाओगे आप, and suddenly you'll stop and like, okay, this is not what I wanted to go about, but this is what I'm thinking right now. Second thing that will happen is कि जो confusion है, you will start to analyze that confusion. कि भाई क्यों दिक्कत आ रही है? Do I even really want to go for that coding job? Do I want to sit in front of a screen for 12 hours a day? The hours could be different, but if you are doing a coding job, you will be sitting in front of a screen for a certain like extended period of time every day. Do you really want to do that? Or if you go into social media, you will be constantly, checking कहाँ क्या चल रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, क्या फट गया, क्या वायरल हो गया. All of these things you will have to be updated on. Do you really want to just, get all that much into social media? Once you start exploring these things with you, it will become easier for you to decide what do you want to do outside, because your why is getting clearer. And there's no easy way to simplify this. मैं आके आधे घंटे में आपको नहीं बता सकता हूँ कि आप अपनी जिंदगी से क्या करना चाहिए. दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू नीड टू आंसर फॉर योरसेल्फ. And the other major reason for why it's so difficult to go with this why, पहला तो हो गया कि it's self deceptive and we don't really know this, फिर मतलब external pressures चीजें आ रही है. दूसरा सबसे बड़ा कारण इसके लिए जो इशू बनता है वो ये है, even if we know why, even if we know, it's very difficult to act on it sometimes. Now, another very, very interesting and simple question. How many of you have been in a relationship where you weren't really sure about, you wanted to be with the other person, but you were just there because it'd be, too hard to break up, या फिर मतलब तो ज़्यादा complicated हो जाएगा. And I don't want you to write this out in the chat because obviously that could lead to a lot of gossip and other issues within your college. But if you've thought about these things, consider the same thing over here. कि अगर, let's say, after a lot of introspection and a lot of self-reflection, you found out what you want to do because you're clear about why you want to do it, it will still be hard to convince the other people in your life. Why? Because the other people in our lives, being Indian, especially our parents, are very, very important stakeholders and decision makers in our life. It should or should not be the case is not something that we're discussing here. I'm just talking about the practical reality that our parents do hold a say in our lives. That's why a lot of you are doing engineering despite not being sure about why you're doing it. So the second part is courage. कि एक बार आपको पता चल गया क्या करना है, उसके बाद वो करने में भी जान चाहिए, उसको करने में भी आपको एक विल पावर, एक मोटिवेशन, एक अंदर से ड्राइव चाहिए टू फेस द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज नो मैटर व्हाट. बिकॉज this is the third thing that I would like you all to ruminate on and think about at the end of this session. The first was obviously कि भाई why, क्यों कर रहे हो जो कर रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो. Second is your ikigai, कि आपने अपने core values सोच ली, but now also think about the broader aspects and impacts of how you can go about building a career. And the third thing that I'd like you to think about is, do you have the courage to stand up to the world and do what you believe you must do? Because it's not easy. It will never be easy. ये फटेगा कहीं ना कहीं जाके, इस पे मतलब प्रॉब्लम्स आएंगी बहुत सारी, and you'll be the only one facing those problems a lot of the times. Not always, there'll be other people who'll be supporting you, but a lot of the times फटेगा तो आपके सर पे फटेगा. That's where all of these things are connected, कि अगर if I go back to the whole UPSC example, so I was preparing for civil services. I was not clear why, then I was clear why, then I had more reasons for why. Second, it's very very easy to fit UPSC with ikigai. क्यों? क्योंकि यूपीएससी में सिविल सर्विसेज एग्जाम अगर मैं करता हूँ, इफ आई बिकम एन आईएएस, सो obviously one of the things that I like doing, organizing things, strategizing about things, planning, execution, ये सारी चीजें मुझे पसंद है. So I'm good at these things, right? I am slightly clear about why I want to do these things. I will get paid for these things, and the society needs good people who can do great things in positions of power. So ikigai is sorted. बट फिर आता है थर्ड, कि आपको लगता है ठीक है, बट आपके डिपार्टमेंट में नहीं लगता है. Like obviously there are other issues, there is corruption, there are pressures, there are so many other things. Do you think after clearing civil services exam, after having some sort of fulfilled ikigai, would you be able to push that pressure back? Because I'm sure a lot of you have heard about Ashok Khemka. He's one of the most famous IAS officers for being transferred, I think, almost 50 times in his 20-year career. उनके हर 6 महीने में ट्रांसफर हो जाता है. क्यों? Because he has a lot of courage. बहुत ज्यादा courage है उनके पास, तो उनको फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. उनको जो लगता है सही वो वही करते हैं. उनको किसी और चीज से फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. But consider the amount of pressure that guy is under. Consider what his family life might be like. Because I don't know about you, but shifting every 6 months can be a hassle. So all of these three things, first understanding who you are by self-reflection, and I would really like if all of you did that 30-day challenge sort of a thing, if you call it that, write a page every morning, first thing in the morning for 30 days. You will learn a lot more about yourself, and it will clarify you for like at least the next couple of years, because you also are changing. Second thing, think about कि ikigai क्या है. Think about कि भाई आप जो जो चीजें करना चाहते हो, what is the best possible way for you to get paid for it? What is the best possible way for you to utilize your skills? What is the best possible way for you to contribute to society? Because इन सब चीजों के बारे में जब आप सोचोगे, तो अभी जो लिमिटेड ऑप्शन आपके दिमाग में है ना, उनसे एटलीस्ट 4 कदम आगे जाओगे. एंड जितना अभी ज्यादा सोच सकते हो उतना अच्छा है. क्यों? क्योंकि अभी आपके पास स्पेस है, अभी आपके पास टाइम है. द थर्ड थिंग, विच इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग आफ्टर ऑल. क्यों? क्योंकि देखो, कहानी सब बता देते हैं. Anybody can tell a story, anybody can dream up an Amazon, but it takes a guy like Jeff Bezos to go out and like build it. Anybody can talk about कि नहीं 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 Alibaba, हाँ हाँ, नहीं 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 Flipkart, हाँ हाँ हाँ, but it takes somebody the courage to stand up and go build it, right? So think about all of these things, and the more you think about them, I have a certain sense, and this is coming from my own personal experience, that the more you think about these things, शुरू में थोड़ा लगेगा कि confusion हो रही है और ज्यादा, कि भाई क्या हो रहा है, ये तो मतलब पहले रहता फैला हुआ था और फैल गया. But the more you think about this, the more your values will clarify, the more you will understand who you are, and the more you will understand what are the things that you would love to do for, let's say, 30 or 40 years of your life. Those things could change. But right now, whatever it is that I'm doing, I would love to continue doing it for the next 30 years. That is the idea that I want you to take out of this conversation. That is the thing that I want you to find for yourselves. It may be hard, but the first step, journaling hai. And I think with that, I'll end my piece, my monologue, wherein I have taken significantly more than the 30 minutes I tried to cut it down into, but my apologies for that. So if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask, if you want to, clarify any of the concepts that we talked about, or anything in general that you would like to discuss, please feel free to share that in the chat, and I'll try and take it up one by one. And Gaurang, please do help me moderate this, because I'm not sure if you're getting the chats faster than I am.
Yes, sir. The audience will start to post their questions, basically.
Sure. So, would it be better if whoever has the question can come on screen, put the video on, and then ask the question? Because that would make it a little better, so far as I feel. Okay.
So
So,
there's a question in the chat box.
yeah, I got that. So, Ankit has asked a question where he says he has selected a field I want to be in, but I still want to explore more. What should I do? Number one, Ankit, are you sure you selected the fields that you are in right now? And if you did, that is great. But अगर आपको अभी भी लग रहा है कि you still want to explore more, then college is a great place for you to explore. Try another internship. मतलब one of the best things about college life is कि आपको जो भी चीज करने का मन हो रहा है, अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आपको कोडिंग सीखनी चाहिए, go for a boot camp. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आपको मार्केटिंग ट्राई करनी है, अप्लाई फॉर एन इंटर्नशिप, इंटर्नशाला पे अप्लाई करो, 10 चीजें, मतलब एवेन्यूज इतने हैं आपके पास आज की डेट में कि जो भी आपको दूसरी फील्ड लग रही है कि आपको एक्सप्लोर करनी चाहिए, ट्राई एंड गेट सम प्रोजेक्ट इन दैट फील्ड. क्यों? वो प्रोजेक्ट से आपको काफी हद तक पता चल जाएगा कि क्या ये फील्ड मेरे लिए सही है या नहीं. राइट. सो Kinnari Bhalerao has a question. Who did you look up to for inspiration while growing up? So this has been something of a exploratory journey for me. My heroes and idols have changed from time to time. One of the most common ones, one of them which has stayed, has been Batman. Right. Why did I idolize Batman? Obviously, he has that ultra macho and Dark Knight and the brooding character and all of those things. But he used to be somebody who thought things through. He used to be somebody who would go in depth. Over time, obviously, I've developed a lot more individual and real life figures that I looked up to. Sardar Patel is one of them. Then American President Theodore Roosevelt is another. And these are all people who had like a great amount of bias for action. They would think about things and then they would go out and do it. So those are the kinds of people that I have looked up to for inspiration. So Curzon has a question: how do you motivate yourself to improve your skills in the domain you like? So Curzon, one of the things that you need to understand is कि अगर आपको ऐसे डोमेन में जो आपको पसंद है भी धक्का मारना पड़ रहा है, then I think something needs to change. You need to introspect a little more about कि धक्का क्यों लग रहा है यहाँ पे. If you like these things, is it the way you're going about those things? Because motivation is something that comes from the inside, right? If I like a project that I'm doing, I don't need to be motivated. I'm excited. I wake up in the morning and I want to go out and like check कि अच्छा आज क्या हुआ उसमें. So this is something that I'll tell you about, let's say trading, which is a very, very wrong thing to pick up in this manner. So when the pandemic happened last year, so trading was something that I figured, I should try out. Time hai, घर पे बैठे हो, lockdown hai, so why not? I used to be very excited every morning. आज market का क्या होगा, आज ऊपर जाएगी, नीचे जाएगी, क्या होगा, कैसे होगा. For a couple of months, I did it. Like then I lost motivation. Why? Because then I realized that this is not something that I want to do long term. So have that conversation with yourself. Is this domain that you're trying to improve your skills in still something that you believe in long term? If you do, you will find that motivation. But if you've lost that interest in it long term, what is it that's keeping you here? Even then, if you want to push past the plateaus, so then you can have a couple of habits built around these things. Ki just show up every day. This is one of the easiest things that you can do in order to improve your outcomes despite presence or absence of motivation. Every day, just show up. Let's say, for instance, a skill that we're talking about could be, since the next question is about the UPSC preparation. So one of the easiest things that you can do with your UPSC preparation is just show up every day. इट्स नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट कि आप दिन में 10 घंटे पढ़ रहे हो कि नहीं, बट इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू स्टडिंग एवरी डे। तो आप अपनी टेबल पे पहुंच जाओ। क्यों? क्योंकि क्या होगा अगर वो 10 घंटे वाली चीज हम अपने आप को पुश करेंगे ना रोज, सो अलॉट ऑफ द टाइम्स विल फील द प्रेशर कि यार 10 घंटे पढ़ना है, आज 10 घंटे पढ़ने का मन नहीं है, छोड़ो ना, ये नहीं करते वो नहीं करते, तो हम बिल्कुल ही छोड़ देंगे, विल कट द डे ऑफ कि आज छुट्टी लेते हैं। इंस्टेड फोकस ऑन कि भाई हर रोज आपको टेबल पे जाके बैठना है, फोकस ऑन कि भाई देयर विल बी डेज वेयर मोटिवेशन विल बी लो, बट आपको क्या करना है, दिमाग में एक चेक लिस्ट रखनी है बस कि मेरी स्ट्रीक चल रही है, आई एम जस्ट मेंटेनिंग माई स्ट्रीक। Keep maintaining your streak, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, even if it's for 30 minutes a day, but keep maintaining your streak. Once you keep maintaining your streaks, ये जो low motivation वाले phases होते हैं, they will pass. You will refine that drive, that vigor, and if you still have to fight for it every day, then I would recommend that you figure out why. The first thing कि क्या आप सही जगह पे हैं, क्योंकि अगर इतनी दिक्कत हो रही है, इतना झगड़ा करना पड़ रहा है किसी चीज से, तो maybe you're not in the right space. So Shefali has a next question. As a UPSC aspirant, what tips would you give so that we can handle the pressure of the exam and later on the position? Shefali, one of the best things that you can do while preparing for civil services exam is know yourself, know thyself. क्यों? क्योंकि every person has unique points of failure. जिन तरीकों से मैं fail in my preparation, the ways that I fail my preparation, probably you will not. Probably you will fail in different ways with your preparation. There'll be some common ways. Common तरीके क्या है कि भाई ठीक है, it is hard work, showing up every day, working 8 to 10 hours every day, that is hard work. तो वो वाली चीज तो करते ही रहना है, बट आपको ये भी एक रिकग्नाइज करना है कि फॉर इंस्टेंस जैसे आई एम अ वेरी सोशल पर्सन, बट अगर अब मैं चाह रहा हूं कि मैं अंडरग्राउंड हो जाऊं यूपीएससी की तैयारी करते हुए, दैट आई डोंट मीट एनीवन for the entire duration of my preparation. I prepared for 5 years. I would not have survived that long if I was not meeting other people. So I realized that about myself. I am a social person, and if I cut off myself from everything else, it will hamper my preparation also. क्यों? क्योंकि there is a very core part of me that requires the company, the conversation, being out with other people. And if I'm not giving that to myself, the effort that I'm putting in will get degraded because there is something that is very, very essential to me that is not being fulfilled. So that is what you need to understand कि आप किस तरह के इंसान हैं, आपको क्या चाहिए. So another thing, for instance, just that worked out for me very well was कि I need physical activity. मैं टेबल पे 8 घंटा बैठ के पढ़ लूंगा, बट मुझे कुछ फिजिकल एक्टिविटी उसके बाद उसके पहले चाहिए. नहीं होगी तो विद इन अ मंथ दैट 10 hours a day of study time will drop down to 5-6 hours. Why? Because कमर में दर्द हो रहा है, मन नहीं कर रहा है, नींद आ रही है. So you need to understand what kind of a person you are, what are the things that you require just in general and not just for preparation. So the more you know about yourself, the better it will be, and the easier you will be able to handle the pressure of the exam as well as the position. क्यों? क्योंकि पोजीशन में हमें डर क्यों लगता है? पोजीशन में हमें डर लगता है इसलिए कि भाई ये अच्छी पोस्टिंग है, निकल जाएगी, ये यहाँ से वहां चले गए तो भाई वो झगड़ा हो जाएगा, कुछ और हो जाएगा, अरे यहाँ तो ऐसे आए थे, मतलब वी हैव समथिंग टू लूज. बट इफ यू नो what it is that you're willing to lose, क्योंकि देखो, when you clarify what you want, when you clarify who you are, one of the first things that clarifies is what you are willing to lose. आज की डेट में मतलब I would say कि you know a year ago building a social media following was something that I was very very ardently into. Then I would get stressed out about the fact कि भाई Instagram पे इतने लोगों ने unfollow किया आज, because that was something that I was very very into. 1 year down the line, I really don't care. मतलब if I worry more about कि ये मेरे को हटा देंगे या ये मेरे को मतलब unsubscribe कर देंगे, ये मतलब those are not things that I can control. What I can control is the content that I put out. What I can control is my own output. If I can keep doing that, I know followers will increase in time. The social media thing will grow. So similarly, when you're in a position, if you know कि आपकी clarity क्या है, कि let's say you're a married individual, your kids are in school, you don't want to be transferred out. then you will do the other things that are required to not be transferred out. But if you're okay with being transferred out, then you can take other steps, other avenues which are open to you. So very first thing that you need to do is know yourself. Okay, so Kritika has asked a very interesting question. What was the first win that made you confident that you were doing the right thing? Ah, it's a very loaded question as well, in the sense that I think my failures more than anything else convinced me that I should follow my heart. जो सक्सेसेस थे, सक्सेसेस को आप इस तरीके से देखो कि आई वाज अ गुड स्टूडेंट इन स्कूल, राइट? आप स्कूल में अच्छे नंबर लाते हो तो आपके पेरेंट्स आपको बोलते हैं वेरी गुड, आप 10th में अच्छे नंबर लाओ आपको ये मिलेगा, आप 12th में अच्छे नंबर लाओ आपको वो मिलेगा. आई एम श्योर ऑल ऑफ यू गॉट दोस काइंड्स ऑफ ब्राइब्स फ्रॉम योर पेरेंट्स, राइट? कि ये कर लो, इस कॉलेज में चले जाओगे तो ये मिलेगा, ऐसे होगा वैसे होगा. दे हैव ऑल वेरी डिफरेंट वेज ऑफ ब्राइबिंग. So if you go by win in that sense, so by winning, what happened was कि I topped in school. I did not enjoy a lot. I was doing fun things, but I could have done a lot more. Then I won by getting into IIT. Then I won by getting into UPSC. And at the end of it all, I was just sitting on my hands and wondering, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing these things? So in that sense, confidence आपको तब आएगा इंट्रिंसिकली जब आप अपने आप को जान जाओगे. नाउ आई एम वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट अबाउट द फैक्ट कि भाई मतलब मुझे क्या चीज़ें पसंद है. आई एम स्टिल एक्सप्लोरिंग, आई एम स्टिल लर्निंग, आई एम स्टिल ग्रोइंग. सो आई कांट से फॉर सर्टन कि भाई यही चीज़ है. बट द मोर आई एक्सप्लोर द मोर आई नो, एंड द मोर आई नो द मोर कॉन्फिडेंट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दीज थिंग्स टू यू. I am nobody. I am, not the best person to give career advice at all. मतलब I've had a very unconventional career path. मतलब जो स्टैंडर्ड चीजें होती है कि डिग्री के बाद यू हैव टू गेट अ जॉब. आई हैव नॉट डन एनी ऑफ दोस थिंग्स. आई हैव स्विच्ड जॉब्स मोर ऑफन देन नॉट. मैं नौकरी छोड़ के यूपीएससी की तैयारी कर रहा हूँ, फिर यूपीएससी छोड़ के नौकरी कर रहा हूँ. सो आई एम नॉट अ ग्रेट गाय टू टॉक अबाउट career. But I know a certain few things that go into making a fulfilled career. Why? Because I've struggled with these things. Why? Because I did not win in these areas. I lost. I did those jobs. I earned money. I never felt fulfilled. I lost by winning. क्यों? क्योंकि मैं जीत गया. मैंने वो सारी चीजें करी जो टिक मार्क होता है ना कि हाँ मतलब 10वीं अच्छी कर ली, टिक. 12वीं टिक. IIT टिक. IAS टिक. मतलब आई इवन ड्रॉप्ड आउट ऑफ एन एमबीए. आई एम कैलकाटा, तो मतलब एमबीए भी टिक, सब टिक कर दिया. उसके बाद भी अगर खुशी नहीं मिल रही तो भाई देन व्हाट इज विनिंग? सो डोंट गो अबाउट दैट 1-0 सेंस ऑफ कि भाई क्या विनिंग से कैसे हो सकता है, क्या हो सकता है. फिगर आउट व्हाट यू वांट. दैट इज द कोर ऑफ एवरीथिंग देयर इज टू लाइफ. And let's go on to the next question. So Pranav has asked a question कि what are your thoughts on UPSC interviews? So UPSC सबसे पहली चीज तो UPSC itself calls it a personality test, right? So UPSC itself calls it a personality test, so it's not an interview in the regular sense. Interview में क्या होता है? Interview में it's a very directed conversation. कि let's say for instance I'll ask Gaurang कि अच्छा Gaurang, what are your skills? अच्छा गौरांग, मतलब तुम्हें ये सब चीज आती है, अच्छा अगर ये कर रहे हो तो कैसे करोगे? दैट्स एन इंटरव्यू. UPSC civil service exam takes a personality test. They'll sit Gaurang down and they'll ask Gaurang ki, Gaurang, how are things between India and China these days? It's a very broad question, and based on like Gaurang, just give me an answer.
It's basic.
So Abhi, I think I put Gaurang too much on the spotlight. Don't be too stressed about it. The idea being कि आप जो भी आंसर दोगे उसमें से फिर वो आगे कॉन्वर्सेशन चलेगी. सो यूपीएससी का जो इंटरव्यू है, इट्स मोर ऑफ अ पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट, इट्स मोर ऑफ अ कॉन्वर्सेशन. एंड थिंक ऑफ इट एज अ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद एल्डर्स कि these are people who have great experience of life, because these are people retired IAS हैं, retired senior defense personnel हैं, and these could be police personnel. They'll be very experienced people. One of the things that somebody told me once was कि तुम्हारी उम्र नहीं है जितनी, उतना एक इंसान का वहां उस टेबल पे एक्सपीरियंस है. So it's just a conversation that you want to have with these very interesting people. क्यों? क्योंकि you don't get to talk to these kinds of people every day, do you? So that's what I think of as the UPSC interview. You just like go there, there are like these five very interesting people who are sitting there, and you just get to pick their brains. They're picking yours too. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो आपसे कुछ नहीं पूछेंगे, but in that conversation you also get to ask things, get something out of it. So when you think about that way, so that's a great way to go about it. So how did you come up with the idea of pencil? So pencil was not my original idea. It was an idea of another person who brought me on board later on. And at the moment, obviously, this is also something new, but I haven't been associated with pencil for time now. So right now I'm doing other things. And this again is one of those which I think ties into the next question. Ki, what is the biggest career mistake? What is the career mistake has given you your biggest lesson? So I think my time with pencil could be one of them. One of the biggest reasons for that would be कि the recency effect. Recency हमेशा दिल को ज़्यादा चुभती है. मतलब वो 10 साल पहले में भी शायद कुछ हुआ हो, वो बहुत उस टाइम पे चुभा हो, but because it's been 10 years ago, the feelings have dulled. So right now, I'd say the biggest lesson that I learned out of my stint with pencil was that don't rush into things. With pencil, I rushed into it. कि नहीं 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 बहुत मजेदार चीज लग रही है, करते 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 कुछ होगा, बड़ा होगा, मजा आएगा, we'll figure it out. And in doing that, I did not think about कि who are these people that I'm working with? Would I be comfortable working with them 5 years, 10 years? These are the questions that you need to ask even when you're choosing a career. कि क्या जो लाइफस्टाइल है उस करियर के साथ एसोसिएटेड, क्या आप उस लाइफस्टाइल से जाना चाहते हो? If you're not used to that lifestyle, if you don't appreciate that lifestyle, you will fail in that career. I'm telling you now. क्यों? क्योंकि ये करियर जो है आपके दिन का एक सिग्निफिकेंट चंक है. If your lifestyle and your career don't match, you will always be under tremendous stress, right? So always try and figure out what a good करियर का प्रॉक्सी मतलब आप ले सकते हो बेसिकली. आई एम श्योर ऑल ऑफ यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट अ प्रॉक्सी इज बिकॉज क्लासेस में काफी लगती है. ऑल्दो आई हैव बीन थिंकिंग अबाउट दिस फॉर अ व्हाइल नाउ एंड कि डिजिटल क्लास में प्रॉक्सी लगाना तो काफी मुश्किल हो गया होगा आजकल, बट आई एम श्योर पीपल हैव फिगर्ड आउट वेज. सो एनी व्हिच वे, व्हाट यू कैन टेक ऑफ as a proxy for any career is the lifestyle of the people in that career. Ki if you want to be a coder, do you want to spend 8 hours in front of a screen? If you want to be on social media, do you want to spend 8 to 10 hours every day trawling through social media कि भाई कौन क्या कर रहा है, कौन क्या क्या लिखा, बड़ी चीज क्या हुई, वायरल क्या हुआ, क्यों नहीं हुआ, thinking about those kinds of things. If you want to go into sales, do you want to spend 8 hours of your day making calls or sending cold emails where you will be shot down a lot of the time? Or if you wanted to go into research, can you spend 8 to 10 hours of your day simply reading? So this is a great proxy that you can use in choosing your careers. So Rohan Patil, I think we'll take the last couple of questions because it's been an hour and I really don't want to hold you all over here. And I think गौरांग को थोड़ा लग रहा है कि घंटे भर से खिंच गया है, हो गया, ठीक है चलते हैं. So Rohan Patil has asked a question. Can you relate your UPSC preparation journey with the popular TVF series TVF aspirants? I've not seen TVF aspirants, but a lot of people have told me that क्या नाम है, I think there's that whole mentor guy, Sandeep Bhaiya. People told me that I have a story similar to that guy. So that's all that I know about it because I haven't personally seen the series. If you had one chance to change one decision you made in your career, what would it be and how would you change it? Okay, Ishaq, that's how. So one of the first things that I did right out of college was drop my first job. I got placed in ANI Technologies, which is basically the back-end company for Ola. That was back in 2014 and I did not choose to go for that job. I thought कि मतलब मुझे पता है क्या करना है, क्या चीजें हैं, etc etc. I'll do my thing. But ये नहीं करना मुझे. Why? Because the job was in a different city. So if I had to change something, I would take up that job. Why? Because I think stepping out of your comfort zone is very very important early on in your career. जैसे कि आपको कॉलेज में आके एकदम से ये कल्चरल एक्सप्लोजन एंड एवेन्यूज का एक्सप्लोजन हुआ था. when you go into new city, when you go into new culture, when you go into completely new domain, आपको again इतनी सारी चीजें पता चलेंगी which you are not really aware of in the beginning. And I think if I had to change something, I would change that. Go for that job, go live in Hyderabad for a year or two, learn a different culture, do some very very different things, and then think about क्या करना है. But then again, like, I'm pretty happy about where I am right now. Things are fun and I'm enjoying my life, so maybe not. What are new things that you are doing recently? So Anantha Krishnan Nair ka question hai, what are the new things that I'm doing recently? So new things is I've restarted reading fantasy fiction. I think I used to be a big fan of fantasy fiction while I was in school and college, but after that, I think I just kind of fell out of the whole कि भाई, because fantasy fiction series are like, एक तो book इतनी thick रहेगी and then there'll be like 5 different books in that one series, so you have to go through this entire material. And sometimes what so happens is when you get to your late 20s is you are short of time, you're perpetually short of time. So one of the new things that I've tried doing recently is go back to some of the things that I liked before and figure out if I can explore a lot more over here. Harsh Purohit, existential crisis. Yes, indeed. Every day you fight it. There is nothing to it. आएगा, झगड़ना है रोज और आगे चलना है. क्योंकि देखो, once you give up, that's it. With existential crisis, if you give in to the existential crisis, there is no answer to that question. So the solution that I have found is कि, hey, this is what life is. It's complicated. It's a mess. We don't know what we're doing. We're just playing a game which we enjoy in the moment. अभी ये गेम खेलना पसंद आ रहा है, ये गेम खेल रहे हैं. कल को कुछ और गेम पसंद आएगा, कुछ और खेलेंगे. Does preparation itself process of being intellectual and resourceful full in UPSC? So Abhijeet Gavai का सवाल है, my doppelganger, and he has a question where he says कि is preparation a process of essentially increasing your knowledge and information about a lot of different areas that obviously are covered in UPSC CSE. So yes, this will be one of the things that will happen to you. You will get a ton of information. Ab jaise, for instance, Gaurang ko I put on a spot when I asked him the India-China question. But that's what UPSC has done with me. You can ask me randomly about most countries in the world, and out of the 195, 6, 7, I'd be able to give you some satisfactory answer with about half of them. The rest, not sure. But that's what UPSC does. It lets you know so many different things about so many different areas that now my horizons have even been further broadened. I know so many different things that can be tried, and like that's what's happening. Right. So thank you all for these questions, and thank you all for giving me your attention. And I'll hand over the session to Gaurang now.
Thank you, Abhijeet sir, for the captivating talk. The concepts explained by you were really great, and I am sure the audience will surely try to write down their thoughts in the morning for 30 days. Now, I would request our Vice Chairperson, Ms. Chitija, to present a vote of thanks.
A very good evening to everyone present here. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Thank you, Abhijeet sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule to enlighten us with your words of wisdom. I'm sure that the knowledge that you have imparted today will be instrumental in becoming individuals that surely give back to the society. I think I have a much clearer idea about how confused I actually am, despite the thought that I had clarity about my career choices. But this truly helped me learn that experience evolves your answers. I might not be sure right now, but I'll continue to search
We'll
for my
figure it out.
aim in life.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sure that after this session, everyone will try to find the answer to the why am I doing this question and pursue their passion with full determination. I, on behalf of our committee IEEE-VIT, thank the entire audience for attending the webinar. And I hope that you all have benefited from this experience. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels started rolling months ago. We are fortunate to have dedicated student volunteers that work tirelessly so that our committee can bring in more events like this. A cheers to all of our student volunteers. Lastly, I would like to request the audience to please fill up the feedback forms so that we can dispatch your certificate soon. We would be happy to hear any suggestions that come in. With this, thank you everyone for taking the time to attend our event and have a great day ahead.
So again, thank you all for having me here. It's been a great pleasure, and best of luck to all of you in doing whatever it is that you're doing in the future in your lives. Just enjoy the games that you're playing, because nobody knows which is the right game to play.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you everyone for attending this event. We have our next two events of IRIS lined up on next Saturday and Sunday respectively. Hope to see you all there, and please take care while filling the details in the certificate form, whose link is provided in the chat box. Goodbye and take care. This is Gaurang Kalyankar signing off.